My name is Ethan, and I still remember the exact night something inside me went quiet. Not angry, not loud, just quiet. It was the kind of quiet you don't notice right away. The kind that slips in when your heart figures something out before your mind is ready to deal with it. The kind that doesn't shout for attention because it doesn't need to. It already knows the truth. She was sitting across the room from me, legs curled up on the couch, phone glowing in her hands. Her face lit up every few seconds with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. A private smile, one that wasn't meant for me. The TV was on, playing some show neither of us was really watching. Laugh track, dialogue, noise filling the space, but between us there was nothing but silence, heavy, pressing, like the air itself was holding its breath. I asked her a simple question. "Who are you texting?" I didn't accuse. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even turn toward her fully. She didn't look up from her screen. Just a friend. 2 words. Calm. Smooth. Too smooth. It should have sounded normal. Innocent. The kind of answer that doesn't mean anything at all. But something about the way she said it felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced it in her head before I ever asked. I didn't push. I didn't ask which friend. I didn't ask how often they talked. I didn't ask why she smiled like that. Because when you love someone, you don't want proof. You want peace. Even if that peace is fake. That night, we went to bed like everything was normal. The lights went off. She rolled over. Her breathing slowed. And I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying moments I had ignored for months. The late replies. The way her phone never left her side. The sudden need for privacy, the new passwords. The way her smile had changed. Softer, but farther away. And the worst part wasn't any of that. The worst part was realizing she thought I didn't notice. She thought I was blind. What she didn't know was that my silence wasn't weakness. It was the moment I started watching. Before the secrets, before the distance, before everything quietly fell apart, she was my safe place. We didn't have a movie-perfect love story. We weren't rich. We didn't travel the world or post perfect pictures. But we had something that mattered more. Trust. Or at least that's what I believed. She used to call me just to hear my voice. No reason, no problem to solve. Just silence on the line and the comfort of knowing the other person was there. We talked about the future like it was guaranteed. Where we'd live. What kind of life we'd build. The small details that only make sense when you assume the person will still be there. I trusted her with things I never shared with anyone. My fears. My doubts. The parts of me I kept hidden because I didn't want to look weak. And that's why betrayal hurts the way it does. Not because of what they do, but because of what they know. The change didn't happen overnight. It never does. If it did, you'd see it coming. You'd protect yourself. This kind of betrayal grows slowly, quietly. She started getting busy. Her phone mattered more than our conversations. She stopped asking about my day, and every time I noticed, I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't doing enough. Maybe I was too boring. Maybe I was overthinking. That's the lie you tell yourself when the truth feels too expensive to accept. One night, I finally said something. "You feel distant lately." She smiled at me, that calm, reassuring smile, the one that makes you doubt your own instincts. "You're imagining things." And I believed her, because trusting her was easier than questioning everything I had built my life around. But while I was busy believing her words, her actions were already telling a different story. The first real crack came on the most ordinary day imaginable. No fight, no argument, no warning. She left her phone on the table, unlocked, face down. That phone had never been face down before. My heart started racing, but I told myself to relax. I wasn't that guy. I respected privacy. I trusted my partner. Then, the screen lit up. A name I didn't recognize. A message preview I couldn't ignore. "Did you miss me today?" My hands went cold. I didn't pick up the phone. I didn't open the message. I didn't scroll. But something inside me broke quietly. That message wasn't friendly. It wasn't innocent. And it definitely wasn't meant for someone who was just a friend. When she walked back into the room, she grabbed the phone instantly, like a reflex. Like her body moved before her mind could catch up. She didn't look at me. I didn't need her to. That was all the confirmation I needed. Still, I didn't explode. I didn't accuse her. I didn't demand answers. I didn't beg. I smiled. And from that moment on, I stopped being the man who trusted blindly. I became the man who listened carefully. Because revenge doesn't start with anger, it starts with patience. After that day, nothing felt the same. Every word she spoke felt filtered. Like she was choosing which version of herself I was allowed to see. Like the real version was reserved for someone else. She laughed more at her phone than with me. She guarded it like it held her life inside. She carried it everywhere, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, and suddenly I was the outsider in my own relationship. I didn't test her. I didn't set traps. I didn't ask questions. I just watched, and watching hurt more than arguing ever could. She used the same excuses over and over. "I'm tired. Work is stressful. I just need space." Space. That word is dangerous when it comes from someone who used to need you close. Some nights, she lay beside me scrolling endlessly, her body turned slightly away. That small turn felt bigger than any argument, bigger than any fight we never had. I'd ask, "Everything okay?" "Yeah," she'd say, but her eyes never stayed on me long enough. The hardest part was how good she was at it, lying without shaking, smiling without guilt, making me feel guilty for noticing. That's how manipulation works. It doesn't scream. It whispers until you start doubting yourself. But deep down, I already knew. She wasn't drifting away. She had already left. The truth has a habit of getting careless when it thinks it's safe. She started slipping. Stories didn't match. Details changed. Names appeared too often. One night she mentioned a place she'd never talked about before. When I asked casually who she was with, she paused. Just for a second. But that second said everything. "Friends," she said. "Always friends, no names, no stories, just shadows." She dressed differently when she went out alone, smiled differently when she came back. Her energy felt borrowed, like she was carrying someone else's attention with her. One night she forgot to delete a photo. Not romantic. Just too personal. I didn't confront her. By then I wasn't trying to save the relationship anymore. I was trying to understand it. Because clarity hurts, but clarity also frees you. There's a special kind of pain in loving someone who's still there physically, but already gone emotionally. She still said my name, still laughed at jokes, still shared meals with me, but her heart was somewhere else. The more I gave, the less she returned. I planned things. She canceled. I opened up. She shut down. I stayed, not because I was weak, but because I needed the full truth before walking away. Because leaving without answers feels like losing twice. One night something shifted. I realized I wasn't afraid of losing her anymore. I was afraid of losing myself by staying silent. That's when I decided to wait. To let her believe her secret was safe, because people reveal everything when they think they're in control. And she felt very comfortable, too comfortable. The strange thing is, once I knew the truth, everything slowed down. Time didn't rush anymore. My heart didn't panic. It was like my mind finally caught up to what my gut had been screaming for months. I wasn't confused. I wasn't lost. I was calm. And that calm scared me more than anger ever could, because calm meant I was done hoping. The days after I said nothing felt unreal. We lived in the same space, shared the same air, but something invisible had changed. I wasn't reaching for her anymore. I wasn't asking questions. I wasn't searching her face for reassurance, and she felt it. People always feel it when the power shifts. She'd look at me longer than usual, like she was trying to read thoughts I no longer shared out loud. Sometimes she'd laugh a little louder, talk a little more, as if noise could fix distance. It couldn't. She asked me one night why I was so quiet. I told her I was tired. Not physically, just tired. And that wasn't a lie. I was tired of pretending not to see, tired of swallowing doubt, tired of protecting a version of her that didn't exist anymore. She kept playing her role, still going out, still smiling at her phone, still living like nothing was wrong. But now I saw everything clearly. The timing of her messages, the way she'd shower the moment she got home, the sudden care in how she looked before leaving. These weren't signs anymore. They were confirmations. And once confirmation arrives, denial has nowhere to hide. What surprised me was how easy it became to let go emotionally before letting go physically. I had already grieved her while she was still there. That's something people don't talk about. The relationship doesn't end when you walk away. It ends the moment you realize you're alone in it. One evening, she tried to pull me back in. She cooked dinner, lit candles, played music we used to love. She smiled the way she used to when things were good, and for a second, I saw the memory of us instead of the reality. That's the dangerous part. Memories can lie if you let them. She reached for my hand and asked if I still loved her. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know, but because I respected the weight of the question. I told her I cared about her, and that answer hurt her more than a lie would have. Because care without commitment feels like standing at the door and knowing you're not invited back in. That night, she cried. Not quietly, not softly. She cried like someone who felt something slipping away and didn't know how to grab it back. She apologized, but the apology was vague. No details, no ownership, just emotion. And emotion without accountability doesn't heal anything. It just delays the truth. A few days later, I got another message. This one was shorter. She told me you know. I didn't know about you. That was it. No drama. No excuses. Just truth from the one place it was never supposed to come from. And suddenly, the story became bigger than betrayal. It became about deception layered on deception. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. That message wasn't for conversation. It was for closure. Because now I knew that lies don't just hurt one person. They ripple outward. They break trust in every direction. When I finally confronted her, it wasn't explosive. It wasn't emotional. We were sitting on opposite sides of the room, the same way we were the night everything went quiet. I told her I knew everything, not just about him, about the lies, the timelines, the stories that didn't match. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse. I stated facts, and facts are hard to argue with. She tried at first, tried to minimize, tried to say it wasn't serious, tried to say it didn't mean anything. That phrase again, didn't mean anything. But if it didn't mean anything, it wouldn't have required lies. It wouldn't have needed secrecy. It wouldn't have cost trust. Then she tried blaming me, saying I changed, saying I wasn't as present, saying she felt lonely. And I listened. I really did. Because I wanted to be sure. Sure that walking away was the right decision. And the more she spoke, the more certain I became. Not once did she say, I hurt you. Not once did she say, I chose wrong. She only talked about how she felt. That's when I understood. She wasn't fighting for us. She was fighting for relief from guilt. I told her I wasn't angry, and that confused her. Anger she could handle. Anger would have meant we were still connected. Calm meant distance. Calm meant finality. She asked me if I was going to tell people. I told her the truth. I wasn't going to lie anymore. I wasn't going to protect a story that wasn't mine. Whatever happened after that would happen naturally. And it did. People noticed the shift. They asked questions. I answered honestly, without details, without insults, just honesty. And honesty has a way of changing rooms. Conversations stopped when she entered. Invitations slowed down. The image she worked so hard to build started cracking, not because I attacked it, but because it was never real to begin with. She came to me one last time, weeks later, asking if there was any way to fix things. I looked at her and felt nothing but clarity. I told her some things don't get fixed. They get learned from. And that lesson stays with you long after the person is gone. Walking away was quiet. No dramatic exit, no final argument, just distance. And distance did what arguments never could. It gave me back my peace. The days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Her messages went from long apologies to short check-ins to silence. And with each passing day, I felt lighter. I started focusing on myself again, my health, my discipline, my goals. I took mornings seriously. I took my time seriously. Pain became fuel instead of weight. Every now and then, I'd hear things, that she was struggling, that people didn't trust her anymore, that things with him didn't last. But none of that mattered. Not because I wished her harm, but because her choices were no longer my responsibility. Months later, I ran into her unexpectedly. She looked different, not older, just quieter, less sure. We exchanged polite words. Nothing personal, nothing emotional, but in her eyes I saw understanding. Not regret, understanding. She finally saw what she lost. Not just me, but herself. After betrayal, there's silence. And in that silence, you either fall apart or rebuild. I rebuilt. Slowly. Intentionally. I learned to trust patterns over promises. To value consistency over words. To walk away from disrespect without guilt. People think revenge is loud. They imagine public exposure, dramatic endings, watching someone fall. But the strongest revenge I experienced was quiet. It was choosing not to become bitter. It was choosing not to chase validation. It was choosing peace. I didn't win because she suffered. I won because I didn't. If you're listening to this and something in your life feels off, trust it. Don't ignore patterns just because the truth is uncomfortable. Don't protect lies just to keep someone close. Someone who truly values you will never put you in a position where you have to question your worth. She thought I'd never know. She thought silence meant weakness. But silence made me observant. Patience made me strong. And the truth didn't break me. It freed me. You don't lose people who betray you. You lose illusions. And losing illusions hurts. But it's also where real peace begins. If this story felt familiar, you're not alone. Sometimes the truth doesn't need shouting. It needs patience. If you value self-respect, clarity, and quiet strength, subscribe to this channel. More real stories are coming, and some truths can't stay hidden forever.